Hello, everyone. This is our latest episode, the Christmas episode, where we're going to discuss what happened in 2025 in e-commerce and around areas. And today, as usual, our host, Alexander Kravchuk. Hi, Alexander. Vitaly Boyko. Hi, Vitaly.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. And me, Vladislav Podorozhny, and of course, our cat. Here it is. It's Keksik. Yeah.
Christmas cat.
So, Christmas cat. Super happy to have you guys here on this podcast and this session. So, let's talk about what happened in 2025, what is significant enough to be mentioned, and make some small breakthrough about events that happened and their impact for the current year, for the 2025, and for the future year, for the 2026. So I suggest to start with the topics that has been introduced by Alexander. So let's start with Shopware introduced fair usage policy, right? So what is that? Just give me a minute. I need to make my cat go out. Thanks.
That's free.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, cat is free.
So that was actually, I think, in the very beginning of the year. Basically, what we know of Shopware for. Shopware, it's similar to that Magento was before it was acquired by Adobe. When you have a Magento open source, you can just install and run it for whatever. And then if you want a commerce, you can pay a license fee and you start using enterprise features, support, and etc. So what did Shopware? Before it was the same, but what they did, they introduced some threshold amount for a business after reaching which you will need to start paying even if you're using the free version of Shopware. And this is fair usage policy. So far, it's 1 million GMV. So if you are crossing this threshold, you are basically cannot use it any longer for free. So
you mean 1 million in revenue?
Yes, 1 million in GMV.
What is GMV?
1 million
pounds?
Gross merchandise volume. 1 million euro.
Thanks.
In revenue.
Yeah, GMV, Vitaly.
How
to
define that?
Every morning you do GMV, right? Business value. Awesome.
Yeah,
So
how to control?
that's actually the revenue per year. Yes.
Do you know, guys, how they can control that? Because it's like, I think that this leave you place when you can suit someone who is not following it. You either can can comply, or you could have an issues if you want. In general, like how they will control it, I think is the second step. Overall, how do you think? Like, how do you feel about this news? Because that's a bit something that Adobe never have done for Magento, but now we have it with Shopware. How do you think about it? Is it killing open source or? To be honest, I can't imagine how to control it in the first place. Yeah, I need to dig into the implementations they have with this.
Yeah.
Because
to bypass it.
Yeah, because on the paper it sounds pretty fair, of course, because this is a product. It's okay if you get something back from your product, but on the other hand, it's hard to tell how they gonna implement this in real life.
Yeah, the implementation could be quite differ from the goals that they say they have, right? But in general, I have the same feelings as Vitaly. I don't think it's killing open source. I believe that's something that it's the way to give back to the company that is managing this community and supporting it. And I believe that with those finances, Shopware would also invest more in developing the Shopware, including the open source. Yeah, so I think that's the fair, and that's somewhat evolving. That didn't happen to Magento when Adobe dropped down the support of the community as it is, right? So perhaps that's something that's another way of evolving of the open source engine, as for me.
Well, we cannot say that Adobe is kind of abandoned support of community. There's still something happens. I mean, that there are still some organizations and they've been financed by Adobe, and Adobe is also doing something like releasing security updates for Magento and etc. But yeah, I mean,
I'm talking
the big
about
difference.
community. I'm not talking about security updates. I'm talking about the community, the fact that they just said,
We
sorry
have
guys.
Magento.
Yeah, but that's not Adobe style. That's the people that do care, and they are fighting back with Adobe to get the financiation. So no, Adobe. If there would be a chance for Adobe to not do that, they would not do that, right? And there is no chance for that because there is Magento Association that is trying to push that, to push getting the finances from the Adobe, right?
Well,
so
we can discuss a lot about these things, of course.
yeah,
But general, I mean, the difference here, like you can have a multi-million revenue business running in I don't know, many countries around the world. You can have like 50 web stores on Magento without paying any single dollar for a license fee. Here with Shopware, that you will be enforced to do some contribution according to this fair policy. And there's actually interesting mention on their website that if you are having below 1 million revenue, 1 million euro revenue, just relax and take it easy. If you're exceeding 1 million euro, please contact us as soon as you see that you exceeded this amount. So you asked it about the mechanism, and this mechanism is built on the trust and transparency. So fair usage for transparency.
And what is the percentage they're going to take from your revenue? Do you know?
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Yeah, so I also didn't find any information like that. It seems that there will be negotiations between the partners depending on your revenue, how big you are, and etc. So it's per client basis.
Yeah, I think that it's per client. Maybe that they will just ask to switch your tire from the free to the next one. But in general, it's clear that they have an open source version for Shopware, and you can use it only if your revenue is below this specific amount. And honestly speaking, 1 million euro for Europe, it's not that big. I mean, that's could be a small store when you reach it, especially if you're running some low margin business. Yeah. So that's interesting.
So you just need to consider that, right? If you're a merchant, you're doing this business, that's an additional potential issue for you. But well, I'm sorry, companies need to earn money as well on that, and they gave it to you for free for a quite long time.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's go to the second topic, A2A protocol by Google. This is about the agent-to-agent communication, right? And this protocol has been released somewhere in April. Am I right, guys?
Yeah, I think that the whole year 2025 was kind of very rich in news in the AI area, and artificial intelligence is just getting wild, and the development of different technologies that are using artificial intelligence in a full swing. There's like naturally and eventually that somebody came to the idea, like if we have all these agents, and now we are talking not about the models, now we are talking about agents. So agents, it's like not a dedicated model for a single purpose. It's more when you have some kind of software which is AI driven, and it's supposed to handle like a whole cycle of whole cycle. It's expecting to handle different steps in order to complete your request. Like, I want to book a vacation. Please offer me the best for, for January, where I can have some seaside and it won't be super expensive. And then you'll receive like a list of hotels, probably flights, countries, and etc. that AI will search for you and will provide you a kind of research result at that. So Google came with idea that as we'll have more and more that kind of agents that are doing for different purposes, then at the end we'll need somehow to have a single way how they can know about each other, how they can communicate with each other, and we'll need to create some kind of protocol of exchanging different informations, and action can be performed in this environment. So what do you think about it, guys?
Yeah, pretty interesting thing, I will say. I have a questions about how precise would be the output of the agent A to the agent B, and how if in this chain there will be like 5 agents and at least half of them will going to make a mistake, how bad output would be. But I must say that's pretty exciting because the models are getting better and better, and the people are getting know much better how to work with them, how to make sure that there will be less errors and more value out of them. So yeah, that's something that we will definitely going to use, at least in Runshoot, and we're going to try it out next year, I think. Because yeah, we're playing quite a lot with AI, and I believe that for the e-commerce there will be pretty much a lot of implementations of this protocol, but in 2 years, I think. I don't think that the next year or next half a year there will be something like that. Yeah, that will be using this protocol between the many agents. That's my opinion. Could be wrong.
Yeah, if you can think about it, it's definitely very interesting. But I agree with you that in the short term, it looks like that there won't be anything precise. But that actually could be, as you mentioned, that's when you different agents communicating with each other. It could be like this broken phone game when one
Yeah.
model hallucinated, passed some information to another model that some hallucinated a bit, added more information, and at the end you just received some, you just created facts that never exist, but yeah, that was generated by AI.
Especially in e-commerce, when you try to buy a thing and you're saying, I need like 10 pieces of it, and it orders you 10,000. Mate,
Just because it
okay.
knows that you need it more. It will be
Yeah,
better
you need
price
it
for
more,
10,000.
definitely. You're going to call us next month anyways. Why to waste the time?
But like, could you just imagine like how the e-commerce could looks like in the future if I don't know what you need as a merchant is to create an agent that will somehow distribute to the network of other agents what products do you have, and then you as a consumer have some interface, some client, where you can just ask to find the product with I don't know, best price, delivery terms, and etc. What do you imagine how we will do commerce in the future?
So what I would not say that's my imagine how the e-commerce would be done in future. I would say it's how I want it to be done. I want to have one good interface, for example, the chatbot or the voice assistant. When I tell him or she to this assistant, hey, mate, I need to find I don't know, those bottles, right? Like that. Please find with the best price. Make sure there is no scam. It will going to find it for me, and we're going to order it because it's already know my address and all other information. And yeah, I'll just get it. So that's something that Amazon did with Alexa, but it worked plus minus like that. But with the AI now, it's much more feasible to be done. So I would expect to have this. Or for example, I'm going to the web shop that is selling, I don't know, food supplements. Or my wife goes for the makeup store, right? And she needs to talk with the person that knows all of the products there in order to find the right cosmetic for her skin, or for not a cosmetic, right, creams and other stuff, to make sure that it will gonna fit her. There will be no issues with the skin afterwards. And usually there is a quite somewhat simple chain of answers if you already know everything that you have and how to handle all of that, which is hard. But if you already know that, you can follow the algorithm and answer proper questions. And that's what AI could help with, of course. But again, there is 99% chance that everything will be fine, that there will be right answer. And there is a 1% chance that something doesn't work. But with a cosmetic, I don't think with a cosmetic that is not getting too hard on your skin, that's
Here you are definitely right. For cosmetic, it may be just unpleasant, but if you're talking about some medical supplies, for
yeah,
example, it's store that's selling drugs or whatever, then it's become a more serious type of issue that you could have by having an error
definitely.
in yeah.
Definitely.
Vitaly, what do you think?
Well, how future gonna look like? It's a really great question. I expect that we gonna get back to asking the right questions, which are not how we can implement AI in our flows, but rather what we want to achieve, and then which tools we need to choose, because this what we heard from Vlad just in his speech, is not the implementation is not gonna necessarily involve AI, to be honest. It doesn't hurt like AI is applicable like 100% for his wishes, because those wishes are involving like strict rules, like cheapest price. We don't need AI to find out on which website we have cheapest price. You need to implement some kind of web scrapper that's gonna visit all the site and find your product with the cheapest price. You don't need to have AI for this purpose. So we already have websites that accumulates all the data from different websites and can offer you the best shipment, the best price, and so on. So yeah, we need to step away from this question. We're gonna use AI, but rather we need to get back to the question what we want to achieve. Because behind AI, there are a lot of misunderstanding how it works and where we really need it. Because as we mentioned, sometimes it's pretty whack, right? And it provides you with wrong, like, let's say not wrong, like it's not provide you with good precision. And it's very useful for some certain tasks in some subtle areas, but not for everything. Yeah, even though it feels like artificial intelligence now quite ubiquitous, but if you check the real data, how much which percentage of AI startups is already in production, only 8%. And it's also questionable the percent of those startups that gonna be sustainable. We don't know. Maybe also 8% from 8%. Let's see. But we definitely need to get back to the right questions. I really expecting that.
I just have a note because you said that Vlad mentioned things that probably we don't need AI for. And I just thought like there are actually many things that can be done much simpler. And if the many things that can be done much simpler, then we used to do them. For example, if we could think about exchange markets, yeah, before people worked like with papers when they need to write everything, like I'm a broker, I'm selling from this guy so many stocks to that guy, and etc. and etc. But now everything happens in the computer. So I mean, everything happens in the digital. The data is digitalized, and all these transactions happen automatically. And you said that there could be something that actually I would say that there could be something that AI can provide that we cannot achieve with the current tools. Like, would we just think like, if we have different agents and think that for me as a merchant, I want to sell my products and I want to sell as much products as I can with some margin. So I want to sell it and earn some money on it. And for me as a buyer, I want to buy from the lowest price possible according to the market. So for example, if I decided, I know as Vlad mentioned, to buy cosmetic for next 3 months, I will probably have an order with many items. And with AI, probably with having this network, it can reach different merchants and try to negotiate some special discount for this specific quote. And then depending on like how each shop is behaving, we could receive a different results. Because as you said, that it's easy to find that they're on the, I think that in 90% of stores, the price will be the same. And because there are a lot of services that can even automatically update prices on your store, depending on like what happens in your competitors and what prices your competitors say. But the approach here, it can be even more personalized and can be even more beneficial for both consumer and the merchant if these things can be flexible and they can be kind of negotiable.
Okay, but another question, what's the price for everything? Because currently we have this functionality like in demo mode, and we still are not being charged full price for everything. To understand, we don't
You mean full price for the AI usage of
for
AI?
AI, because we still have no ability to run really smart models locally because they consume too much power. And sometimes we are really, as humanity, we are really misusing these capabilities. For example, I don't know, to search for some really basic information using ChatGPT and consuming a lot of power, which can be used in smarter way, I would say. So yeah, let's see how it roll out, because it's not gonna be like infinitely for as much as it costs now, because at
Not
some
so cheap,
point
you know.
they would like to have their investment back, and then we will see. But it's a good thing because it's like comparing, for example, oil consumption in Europe and in United States. If you can afford more fuel, you are building more powerful and fast cars. If like fuel is expensive in Europe, you have like cars that tend to be more not that
Eco-friendly.
wasteful, let's say. Yeah. So let's see in which direction we're gonna go with AI. If whether we go to direction to make those tools smarter and not that wasteful in terms of resources, or it's gonna be completely different way. So let's see, because we can like now it's easy to, I don't know, my gosh, my brain doesn't work today. To improvise with ideas when we not like not involve, not think about resources it takes, but at some point of time we will have this question raised up at front of us.
Once it's raised up,
Yeah.
we'll discuss it.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
come cross the
It's
bridge
all-
when we come to it.
The funny part is it's already raised up in some areas. For example, development. So a lot of tools were for free before, and now they cost money. For example, now you have to pay quite a big fee for using AI tools in development. So, and now like half year ago, I never think whether I need to prompt something or not. I just prompt. And now I'm considering maybe it's better to write it by my hands, like some certain functionality, and prompt in another case, right? So now it's involved decision making because of this, keeping in mind that I can raise tokens. So,
Yeah.
and this can happen for everywhere, everything. We may end up in the situation when it's not going to be sustainable to shop by agents, but rather do it yourself because it's going to be costly. Because those AI operations, they are not something light. If you can't even run them locally.
This is very hot technology. It's developing rapidly. And here being delayed to stop, it would mean that you can miss an opportunity. And missing an opportunity is much worse than overspending now when all things are developing, and you can just create a new markets, find different opportunities, and then boom, continue investing and earning money, or stop investing and switching your focus to somewhere else. So yeah.
Okay. So great. The follow-up topic that was mentioning that Adobe Commerce goes SaaS and the optimized commerce optimizer, sorry. Commerce optimizer. So Adobe Commerce goes SaaS. Few words from my side. That's interesting approach. That's actually evolving Magento 2 to the Magento 3. It's splitting up everything to the kind of a microservices and separate services thing. There are strange arguments from Adobe that it will gonna save a lot of money for you, but I do not really believe so. But who knows? We'll see. We had a pretty good discussion, 2 episodes of our podcasts about the Adobe Commerce, where we talked on our own, and then we had a great session with Alexander Lizin, guy that knows a lot about this, about the Adobe Commerce SaaS, about the app builder and areas around it. So I do strongly suggest you to have a look on this. And to sum up, the influence of this event, it will be big. It's not big yet on 2025. It's gonna become bigger and bigger during the 2026. And I think in 2027, that's something that would influence significantly the e-commerce part, especially the Magento developers. So it feels like, or you get such clients, such a big client that is ready to pay for the Adobe Commerce SaaS because there is a quite a big fee and you are playing around there and following those rules, or the old Magento 2 approach will gonna go down a bit. So you will be somehow forced to go in this way. That's my vision. That's my feeling. Your turn, guys.
Yeah, this is really a brilliant step from Adobe to introducing the SaaS for basically Adobe Commerce and Commerce Optimizer. I think that many people have misunderstanding of these things are fitting into the current landscape. So briefly thinking that it's not kind of the competitionship with Shopify or with BigCommerce, because basically Adobe Commerce SaaS and Shopify, they're aiming to two totally different segments of customers. Adobe SaaS is mostly bidding on big enterprises, and Shopify is focusing on small and medium merchants. There are a lot of pros and cons, and I believe that for an extensive period of time, actually, I don't see that the Adobe SaaS is going to replace Adobe Commerce in total, because there's still kind of two different models. One is allowing you to build whatever you want in a flexible way and doesn't require you to have an enterprise architecture. With SaaS, you can either use SaaS or you need to go to enterprise architecture. So there is like nothing in between where you can just have a SaaS and do some just a little bit of changes. No, SaaS is easy using it as it is, or you're busy building enterprise architecture with all app builder and events and etc. whatever you need. Mesh and et cetera.
Microservices.
Microservices,
Because
yeah,
Magento
Mesh.
Commerce is also enterprise architecture.
It's well. It's service
Very simple.
oriented AKI. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're taking the platform itself, it can be just run as it is. Whatever you have, a Magento or Adobe Commerce, and I mean the biggest difference, yeah, Adobe Commerce is just more features and enterprise support. Magento, it's like support by a company that's providing services, or you on your own if you are just writing code for your Magento. And for SaaS, that basically you cannot just write code there. Yeah, you're just receiving a black box and then interfaces where is all other Adobe products that perfectly integrates with it, and then you can use it. So yeah, different approaches, different businesses, different customer segments, and I believe it's an interesting step from Adobe. But what I'm really curious, can you use Commerce Optimizer for Magento open source? Adobe Commerce Optimizer is a tool that allows you to integrate your platform into a suite of Adobe products. So you can take your whatever you use, I don't know, Shopware, probably even a Shopify. I won't say that, but theoretically it's possible. You can just take in your e-commerce platform, covering this with Commerce Optimizer, and then you receive an integration into suite of Adobe products. So it allows you to use Adobe Experience Cloud. It allows you to have the benefits of App Builder. It allows you to use Adobe Edge Delivery Service, and so on and so on. So this is kind of the step when you can perform if you want to go into Adobe Commerce, but you don't really ready to change your platform. You can have this middle step when you're integrating with other products before you actually change into Adobe Commerce SaaS.
Okay, that's interesting. To be honest, I didn't know about that at all. First time hear about it. Thanks. New day, new knowledge. Feel
Just near the
appreciated.
Christmas. It's good that you know it this year.
Okay, so getting back to the Adobe SaaS and to that overall our topic, I think that this move from Adobe will gonna mean that developers need to start working on a different skill sets. There will be a different architecture. There will be more enterprise things. So there will be much more system to system communication stuff, which require the different kind set of knowledge. That would definitely mean the changes in pricing and development for the merchants. And that would definitely mean that the way how the whole e-commerce is getting developed for the Adobe infrastructure will be changed. Yeah. So brace yourself. How exactly it's going to change, we'll see in a year or two. And I also want to mention that I think in a year or two, again, this period of time, Adobe SaaS will become the platform that would allow you to do as many customizations as you want in a way SaaS wants to have it. So not like now where you need to change, that you are forced to change some of the core functionality in Adobe Commerce in order to fulfill your business processes. That's why the SaaS is not super popular right now. You still have Adobe Commerce platform as a service stuff, where you can manage the code base. But in future, I think the proper refactoring will be made and certain things will be added there. So you'd be still able to have the full SaaS and change completely anything you need to be able to change there without that changing the platform itself. So keeping the SaaS principle. So Vitaly, do you have something to share about this topic?
Kinda, yes. I just wanted to highlight that regarding this, what enterprise means, that it's an ability of platform to automate your business, right? It's not necessary, it can be implemented in different way, but as far as it goes now, as far as I concern, Adobe SaaS has fewer enterprise capabilities. Adobe Commerce, it's easier to customize your business and automate your business on Adobe Commerce than on SaaS platform at this point of time. Just in terms of easiness.
Yeah, totally agree with you. We'll see how it goes in 1-2 years
That's
because I predict that they are going to change it and it would be much easier to do it on SaaS.
I think that that's now it's very young technology and it's changing. It's changing according to the request that their first client they have. So it's definitely will become more resilient and more flexible for different enterprise models in future. But
Okay.
of course, there will be limitations where it won't be possible to use Adobe SaaS. I don't know, using Adobe
Yeah,
Commerce.
definitely. Limitations will be always, so it looks like the platform as a service will gonna still be in place. There will be just a lot of customers will be moving to the SaaS then. Anyway, so follow-up topic. Shopware launched Agentic Commerce Alliance. There are so many such alliances, and I don't really feel that they're doing some significant job. At least, yeah, if they're not size of the Google, Stripe, or other things. So it's for me, it sounds like yet another alliance. Cool, fine. What's your thoughts about on this, guys?
I think that's well overall it's always interesting. I mean that's we already mentioned a few times that this was probably a year of turning agentic 2025 and things like this they happens all around the world. They happened in many different areas as we saw from Google, from OpenAI, and here is Shopware. Basically, yes, this is kind of organization that's Shopware initiated, and they are trying to find different businesses that can work together in order to provide their vision of agentic commerce and how agentic commerce can be performed. Good it or bad, I think that we would have like a lot of fractured things for a while until they will be somehow united according to the some. I mean, that always happens with the new technologies, yeah, that everybody's trying to do things but different ways, and then you find in a way how to negotiate and build the single vision.
It's rather good than bad because new ways of how doing things happening,
Yeah.
but I don't feel that's going to change much, this kind of an alliance.
Think that just Shopware want to have a voice. They want to have a voice in everything that will happen in the future, and they I'm thinking that they are doing the perfect job in these terms, in this regard. That they are doing, they preparing their platform. They finding more other businesses. They finding partners who are ready to build the same vision for the future with them, and then we'll see how it will.
Okay, but have they prepared already something, or is this just announcement that we will going to have an alliance and perhaps we're going to add changes to our platform? How is it going now?
I think I cannot provide you like what was exactly done there, but there are, so far as I know, that they are collecting candidates right now, that they have their vision, they described it, that there is a website related to Agentic Alliance, and that they have started working on the different things that how they will help Shopware not be, how they will help Shopware to stay in this race for Agentic Commerce future.
Okay. So we may expect in future pretty good initiatives from the Shopware and implemented in Shopware related to the agentic. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good, and that's strengthen the platform, I would say.
Yeah.
So here we go. I think the pretty good initiative that has been released in September, the instant checkout and agentic commerce protocol by OpenAI. If I'm not mistaken, they got a partnership with the Stripe on that, right, guys? Yeah, and that's promising. And from the demos that I saw, that's something that actually brings up my ideas about the future, how it should be with e-commerce that I mentioned before in life, in reality. But I would say I would still not give the main bank account that I have to this agentic AI. There would be a bank account with like 550 euro to play around with that, and not more. That was it to buy many things. Like I said, 10,000 pieces of bottles instead of 10. Yeah. So what do you think about that, guys? To be implemented in some of the e-commerce platforms? Because for now, I saw only the demos and not really SDK for that.
A few things. That's really cool that OpenAI did it this year, but honestly, they are not the first. I think the last year Perplexity announced Shop Like a Pro, if I'm not wrong, if I'm not mistaken. That was how they called the feature. They allowed to buy things through Perplexity in 2024. This year, yes, they built an integration with Stripe, but they also did an integration with Shopify. So yes, if you are Shopify merchant, then you can have an integration and you can list your products for OpenAI.
So it's pretty exclusive for the Shopify right now. There is no tools how to implement it on Shopware, on Magento, or Adobe Commerce, etc.
There are something, how it's called, like they have an integration with Stripe, and then they have a Shopify, and they have a page where you can leave your applications. You can fill the form and leave your request that you want to integrate it for your platform business or whatever. But I think most likely it will work for big retails who have some solid turnover. So that's for now exclusively for Shopify. Things here that's, I mean, you said that you don't see this much of these implementations. I think that here a big difference is Vitaly said that using LLMs is very expensive. That's true. And the current approach, that's if you are asking LLM to buy something, so if you're asking LLM like ChatGPT to find you some products, that it somehow sometimes can perform a web search. So basically it will emulate browser requests and will try to find your products from somewhere from the internet, somehow index the data. Here with an OpenAI approach, it allows you to provide structured data from your business. So OpenAI can consume it and then in the future use for future requests. So basically you are like removing this step of making requests to some search engine. You're replacing the search engine with your own that's belong to OpenAI. And you also as a merchant one can position your products a bit differently for how you are providing this data to AI, let's call it like this. Then it would be visible from your web pages when the real customers visit your store. And in this regard, the difference that you are saving a lot of resources, so you don't need to find the ways to how fetch the different pieces of data from the website. Instead, that you can just send a feed to OpenAI and all the data will be transferred this way.
Yeah. And I saw a couple extensions, and some of them developed by the Ron Root as well, about preparing the product feed for this OpenAI protocol. But you could not actually test it for now, unfortunately, unless you have a really big merchant. Yeah, but yeah, still a bit of a hype.
Yeah, Vitaly, what do you think about it?
So,
what do you think about this topic?
Yeah, Agentic Commerce. I have more curiosity than opinion because I understand that there is a problem, like conflict of interest between search engines, and in this particular case, agents kinda more sophisticated search engines for finding your product, and there is always this problem with actuality of data, because if search engine gonna provide user wrong data, it's gonna increase rebound rate and the user just gonna leave this search engine. So in one hand you have marketing and people pay for promoting your product, but on other hand you need to provide true data. So let's see how it gonna develop, because for example Google find a way to find a way to work with it. It's like shows you it actually highlights you that those products are promoted, so you can consider yourself whether you need to follow links or go a little bit below and choose actual products that are like highest rated by users that visit those links, because they have those pretty complicated algorithms to define the actuality judged by the request. And I believe like OpenAI and other companies, they also need to solve this dilemma somehow, and I don't know to be honest how they gonna incorporate similar approach in the like outputs of prompts. Let's see.
That's a very good point actually, and the very good point that advocate for having as OpenAI declared the format for how you can transfer data, because if you are just relying on a search engine who can enter your website and all required information through the just a web page, you could have biases on stock status, biases on available stock, biases on the price, because this data is changing quite regularly. And in these terms, when you have a control, you as a merchant have a control, like what data you are providing to the OpenAI, for example. Then by OpenAI, like any client that's a driven client, then you are kind of safe. User won't open your product and found that product has a higher price or is no longer in stock, and they will be just disappointed. And yeah.
And we cross the bridge when we come to it, guys. Stop guessing out how it comes out.
That's about actually crossing bridges. I just reminded that you mentioned that you haven't seen it anywhere implemented yet, but I would recommend you to use VPN and just for your information, visit the OpenAI and try to search some products in US. Because I recently wrote an article about how different models are searching like products, data, and etc. and recommending it. So I did a bit of research in this topic, and I was so surprised to see that OpenAI ChatGPT behaves very, very differently depending if you are located in Europe or in US. And I would say that in US the interface is much more advanced than we have here.
Okay, that's interesting. So they're moving forward, and the Europe is getting back as usual.
Then we have nice plastic cups for bottles.
Yeah, plastic caps. Fuck's sake. Okay, move on. October, McKinsey made a forecast for growth of Agentic Commerce. Well, that's kind of a no-brainer for me. You don't have to be in McKinsey to tell that, but I bet there are some interesting insights. Sander, you made the research on that, and you have something to tell us about this, right?
Yeah, this just popped up on the top of my head out from research that I did previously. According to McKinsey forecast, that the aggregated revenue generated by Agentic Commerce will be around $1 trillion in US, and around just $3-5 trillion worldwide. 2030.
Okay.
No. Okay. 5 years, just in 5 years, it will be around 1 trillion in US and 3 to 5 all around the world. So that's kind of huge market that is going to emerge in the next 5 years. So yeah, that's something that you cannot just ignore, basically, if that's such a serious organizations are referring to this data.
Yeah, definitely.
Another actually interesting case that I also checked the annual ADN retail report, and they provided one of the topics that they made their data was about using of AI in e-commerce. And I was so surprised to find that the Gen Z and millennials, like around half of Gen Z and millennials, every second Gen Z and millennial, they're using ChatGPT or any other agent to make purchases online. So it's even these days in 2025, already half of young people, they are relying on artificial intelligence before they actually making a purchase. So which is quite insane. That's definitely tells that the future of retail will be much different in the next few years, and this is something that cannot be ignored.
Yeah. So let's go, guys, and develop some kind of agentic extensions for the Magento in commerce and sell it to everyone and say it's AI driven and everyone will gonna buy it and we'll earn a lot of money and then a couple lawsuits. Anyway, that's good. I totally agree with you guys. That's something that will be growing, and no wonder there is how much? 1.4 trillion, right? In US market?
1 in the US and 3 to 5 worldwide. Likes are high.
Hyvä theme became open source. That's pretty good move, and that's something that is putting a little bit new energy, pretty new and fresh blood into the Magento open source ecosystem. That would definitely help out companies to make a decision in favor of Magento and Hyvä when the merchants will going to choose the platform they're going to work with. So it will be cheaper, it's easier threshold to come in, and for us developers and agencies, that's also the great news, because the Hyvä is a great product. It has a lot of features, and they are developing the Hyvä Commerce, right? And the Hyvä Commerce, that's a step up. So if you want to be much more serious with your business, but you still don't want to pay a lot of money for the Adobe Commerce, here it is. Great support, everything around. Plus the Vinay code that is a pretty big guy in a Hyvä. He is handling the Magento MageOS distributive that is open source and free. So even if the Adobe will gonna say goodbye, the Hyvä will gonna have the full ecosystem in place and supported as they do now. So that's pretty safe choice for everyone. And yeah, I would say that's really, really interesting and really great. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, if you're combining a few facts from the past year, it's become really great news. Just, I thought, actually, I was curious before we make the recording of this video. I was just curious, like, how many features were introduced in 2025 to Magento or Adobe Commerce? Guys, can you guess?
Yeah, SaaS introduced, mate. App builder, do the app
But
builders
to the
thing.
platform itself, there was 0 features. So basically, everything that happens right now, it's either bug fixing or security fixes, and many things are just like keep unchanged. And for this regard, so I mean, if features are happens, they happens in Adobe products, different products, and the way how you can integrate Adobe Commerce with those products, and not much changes in the platform itself. But from here, it's also in October, there was a Magento Association town hall when Adobe representative who explicitly said that we are going to introduce new security patches for Magento and Adobe Commerce and new features and security patches for Adobe Commerce Cloud. So they explicitly mentioned that there will be no features expecting in 2026. And that was a bit weird and a bit of disappointing, but at the same time, we can find it that empowers. This really empowers community that they can take care of what's going on with the platform and they can build their own vision. Because for the next year, they expecting one big release and one release with bug fixes, and that will be basically it. So there will be no many backward incompatible changes, which would mean that there
We
will be
will see. Yeah.
Of course, but I mean, usually last few years things become much better, and you are not like you don't need to estimate 500 hours to upgrade a project that was developed in the 400 hours. Yeah.
Mhm.
So things become better, and now we can expect that platform is, let's call it, matured enough, not be changed a lot, and it also empowers community to build many different awesome things. And now with Hyvä, you can just choose Magento open source, which is free. You install Hyvä theme, it is free. Build whatever you want, and then if you need more features, you can use Hyvä Commerce to get those features. So I think now it's looks really promising, much better than it looked a year or two before when it was really unclear where Magento is moving, what we can expect, and so on. So I think that's a really, really great things you are doing.
Yeah, and the very important thing, many companies were questioning the future of the Magento because Adobe is not putting into the marketing much, and Hyvä right now is doing that. Plus, the many companies were questioning what we're gonna do when the Adobe, or if the Adobe will gonna abandon the Magento platform. This question is also answered. There is a major S that is working with a huge synergy with a Hyvä in terms of the people, in terms of the platform itself, right? So it looks like it's a complete circle, right? You have everything to be sure as a merchant that your platform that you've developed with an open source Magento, with a Hyvä theme, will be keep updating regardless the Adobe, regardless anything else. There are two good organizations behind it, and one of them owning money and has power to support it. This is the Hyvä. So yeah, that's a pretty good move, I think. It's an open market that Hyvä is keeping, right? So Hyvä is going in this open market, the market where the Adobe's Magento is living. They're just replacing it, right? They're the new trusty persons that will gonna handle everything there.
Indeed, totally.
Yeah, well, disclaimer, I do really think that Hyvä is great for Magento ecosystem in general, but to be honest, I'm not a big fan of growing dependencies on the project. So I always recommend to keep dependencies as low as possible. So introducing one more company to be depends on, it doesn't seem to me good idea, just don't criticize me much. But this is what I always talking. Keep dependencies as low as possible to be as stable as possible. Yes, Hyvä is great backup plan, but in my opinion, it's like a regular Magento team, like not a big difference in technologies and so on. So this is why I'm not like go crazy about it. Yeah, it's cool stuff. It's make a ecosystem better. It's great to have backup plan. It's not necessary to have in every project, to be honest. And yeah, so, and when it goes about the disappointment to not having new functionality, that's quite of expected because in general, IT industry is struggling now, it feels like, but Adobe is struggling even more than average IT company because now we have a lot of new products, especially based on of AI, that are competing with Adobe Classic products, and Adobe shares are falling down recently pretty abruptly and dramatically. So they have a lot of issues now to deal with. This is why I understand why they aren't prioritizing their supplementary product, because they have a lot of problem in their main product. For example, now we are recording this podcast using Riverside, not Adobe tools. So you can imagine, same goes with Photoshop, with everything, because AI is just incredible in those creative fields. It's not that good for fields when you need precision. It's not that good in fields when you need like create something new and sit out of the box, because AI is based on existing data. But when it goes about creative stuff, it's just best fit. Like, because now you can edit photo in seconds instead of days in Adobe Photoshop. Same goes for video and so on. So we need to take into account that, yeah, Adobe now struggling, and we need to be patient and see how things gonna develop further.
Yeah, you're right, and I'm also thinking that the general thing is important, like how the platform is being seen by business, how merchants, what the attitude have, what they like feeling, what feeling do they have when they hear the name of the platform in their heads and in their hearts. And here we are in the situation when we have a Shopify who was having like 300 features every year introduced, and then we have a Magento and Adobe Commerce when we have a 0 features introduced during the year. And in these conditions, it's really nice that we have a company or different companies that can provide some alternatives, some feature suites then you can use if you are choosing this type of platform. So it's more about that. I mean, the modern platform plus minus are the same. The like a lot of features are the same, but the general is how you feel about this platform. Is it confident that will be sustainable and will stay on the market, or you're feeling that there's something falling apart and it's going to be abandoned? That's the feeling is really important.
I want to mention that if you're starting new Magento open source project, Hyvä is kind of a must-have, because the outdated look of the Luma and the technologies that are used there for the Magento front end, that's not something that you want to go on with.
It still
Yeah,
depends
so,
on
and
the
the new features and the
capacities you have.
sorry,
Grow
yeah, well,
dependency
if
on
you have a
third party.
great team and have money to pay for the great team, maybe you go to the Adobe Commerce thing.
You speed
I'm
up.
talking about the Magento open source kind of clients. Anyway, we cross the bridge when we come to it. Next topic, still November. Nothing really happened in December, I think, yet, because we are recording it on the 7th of December. So the event called Adobe acquired SEMrush. So what is SEMrush? SEMrush is a pretty big marketing SEO optimization agency that is helping you. So for example, I use it to have a look on the website, what could be improved from the SEO perspective, but many people are using it from the marketing perspective. If I'm not mistaken, you could run the campaigns there, but it could be wrong. So that area to promote your web shop, your website, and other things that you have in an internet. By acquiring of Adobe, right? So by acquiring SEMrush by Adobe, Adobe is saying we want to be more into the marketing and into the SEO thing. They already had their platforms, they already had the specialists in a place that are working on that. And for now, it looks like that will be merging in a year or two. And Adobe will just be much more powerful in this area. And Adobe Commerce itself and the Adobe Commerce SaaS and all of this commerce area of the Adobe will be strengthened, would be improved, and that would be yet another argument why you should come with Adobe Commerce in compared to the Shopify or the Shopware and other stuff. So pretty good argument could be, I would say, because that's marketing and the SEO. It's very important, right? You cannot just underestimate that. What do you think, guys?
I think that's very important that this year you still need to be in a race not only for regular customers, but also for AI-driven customers, for AI agents. And so with acquiring SEMrush, they also having a lot of best practices and a lot of expertise in order to position your products and your content for AIs. And I think it's a big win for Adobe. I mean, especially when we are living in a years when SEO is indispensable for driven AI search and AI recognition of content. So that's definitely forward in this direction. And that's also interesting that the size of acquisition was similar to acquiring Magento. So basically the SEMrush, they paid for SEMrush the same amount that they paid when they bought Magento. It's just a fact. I mean, that was kind of interesting to compare.
Yeah.
Values.
So by the value, it seems to be similar size, right, of the influence on a platform, on a okay, cool. So that's, I think, all the events for now that we wanted to mention and see how it goes.
I'm pretty sure that we missed a few, but
Definitely.
if our listeners can tell us, that will be really great. But this year was really
Intense.
This year was really intense on different events from different areas. Of course, the rapid development of AI and etc. But
I would call it the year of the AI new vision on AI and actual practical implementation in many areas. So you feel how it's growing and you see it will be bigger and bigger. And the e-commerce, AI, Agentic Commerce, that's going to be the new word in 2026, 2027. And we need to be prepared for that, and you as merchants as well.
Yeah, that's well, guys. How do you think that how the next year looks like? Maybe you have some other thoughts.
Yeah, I can say Adobe SaaS, e-commerce SaaS stuff will be still in the somewhat similar state. There will be not much people using that, though the app builder will be much more heavily used with platform as a service from the Adobe. That's my prediction. The Hyvä and the open source will be, I would not say blooming, but getting much better than the previous year and this year, thanks to Hyvä again. And the new tools for the Agentic Commerce development, usage, and implementations, we'll see them. We'll see them, and we would need to learn how to work with them, at least the first half of the year of 2026 and the second half of the year of 2026. I believe at least one of us would implement such a solution on their web shop.
Yeah, that's really will be interesting.
I would say there are gonna be two things that are gonna contribute into how future can look like. First thing is state of in general of economy, because we need to understand whether people go back to investing money into technology or still gonna keep and save money because of crisis. So it's very important because it seems like for the recent years after COVID-19, a lot of companies they are kind of very reserved and not hurrying up into investment. So this is why, in general, the whole field seems like moving slower than it could. So, and I really hope that it's gonna end up soon, and we gonna get back to normal state. And when it goes about second thing is AI should finally show some sustainability, and if it not gonna show it, we still gonna see a lot of layoffs next year, and the economy gonna struggle. So yeah, let's see. On other hand, if it show what they promised, it also can lead to layoffs because people will be replaced to big extent by some AI optimizations. So yeah, I don't want to be pessimistic, but yeah, I just look in the future with hopes, but with realistic realizations that we can still see a lot of struggling next year.
If you ask me, I think that's this year for me. It's more when last year was when AI technologies, that they erupted, that they were everywhere, and the people are shocked. Like, that's so cool. This really nice. It can do many things. This year was about using them in the different areas, trying to fit into different businesses and different models, and figuring out what is actually really capable for. And here we have started to see that there are first disappointments with using AI. For the next year, I think it will become a more mature technology. Will definitely some of the areas people will understand that AI is not the best for. It cannot be used or can be used very limited. But I believe that the hype will be slowed down a bit as the technology development of technology itself is flattened. Now we're playing more how the technology can fit in the different areas. And I'm a bit more optimistic about layoffs. Vitaly suggested a lot of people will be fired because AI underperforming, or if a lot of people will be fired because AI is overperforming. I think that business will realize that a lot of people were fired by mistake. At least it's how it looks like. Many companies who replace it people with AI, they are struggling now because they doesn't have that level of quality that's real people can do. So in this term, I'm looking more optimistic in this collaboration between AI, business, and let's say regular employees. In terms of commerce and so on, I think that Adobe SaaS will start having their first clients in different areas as they are promising to launch in Europe, if I'm not wrong, either end of this year or in the beginning of the next year, most likely beginning of the next year. So there will be different merchants for using SaaS in different areas. I also think that there will be a period when we'll start having more clients on a builder for PaaS than for SaaS, but in general, things will move in that direction. For Shopware, I really think that they are getting better. I mean, I think that they will get more. For Shopware, I think that they will get bigger chunk of the market the next year, as they have a sustainable business model, and they have a vision, and they have a strategy of developing their platform. So probably the licensed kind of software and open source software for e-commerce is something where they are getting the big chunk next year. And for Shopify, I think that for Shopify it will be just another good year, and there is no reason they can start getting bad. That's what I think.
Very pessimistic a bit. I think everything will be fine. I agree with you that it's getting shape right now, the technology from the AI. It was a boom in the previous year, 2024. In 2025, it's still the boom, but people are looking at it more realistic and having and see how it goes and where to use it better. So it would be better in 2026. With the Shopware, yeah, I think they're going to get better. And the Major.s, I think, will going to get better thanks to Hyvä. Everything will going to get better. Everything will be fine.
Next year will be better. It will be the best year so far.
Yeah. And if the problem will appear, we will cross it once we come to it. One problem at a time.
True.
Cool. Great. So let's wish the Merry Christmas, the Happy New Year, and the great start of the 2026 to everyone who's listening, is it a merchant or the developer. And a few words from you guys as well. Vitaly, share some good vibes from yourself.
We can handle 2026.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Alexander.
I think that thank you guys for being here with me and for me being with you for this podcast. I think that's really great experience. Thank you for our listeners for still with us. If you are listening us for the first time, then please subscribe for our YouTube. Please give us some like and leave a comment. We will really appreciate. And so anyway, I wish you a Merry Christmas and nice holiday. Yeah, Happy New Year.
Thank you guys for being with us. See you in 2026. Ciao.
See you in 2026. Bye.